The first food mystery. Who invented cooking, when, and where?
Anthropologist Richard Wrangham stated, "Cooking is a defining feature of humanity. I believe the transformative moment that gave rise to the genus Homo, one of the great transitions in the history of life, stemmed from the control of fire and the advent of cooked meals."
We need the archaeological record to prove past events. Food leaves traces of plant and animal remains. People are buried, and their physical and chemical characteristics later can be analyzed.
Archaeologist Catherine Twist said, "Archaeology allows us to examine foodways through time and across space in a way that no other discipline can. How do we eat? How do we farm?"
Cooking started way before Homo sapiens. The real human success story was Homo erectus, going back about 2 million years. They continued to evolve and eventually into Homo sapiens. Homo erectus managed to migrate over much of the old world, and with the first Homo erectus fossils actually found in China and Java. Once humanoids had opposable thumbs, stones became easy to pick up, throw, pound, and cut. Stones were important enough to name an entire age after them. Stone tools started before Homo erectus and only ended once the metalworkers started using copper to develop new tools and weapons. Stone knives and spears could be used for killing and butchering animals. Stone is not easily destroyed and provides solid evidence of where, when, and how humans lived. Mortar and pestles, bowls of many types, picks and sickles became common for pre-farming, semi-sedentary peoples. When and where cooking started has been difficult to prove. Fire does not necessarily mean humans were involved. A campfire does not mean cooking. It does mean they kept warm and scared the hell out of predators. A campfire with certain types of organic remains meant cooking was done. Cooking probably started about 1 million years ago with slabs of meat dropped in the fire, but evidence before 400,000 years ago is sparse and uncertain. Cooking likely started in Africa. The Horn of Africa around Ethiopia is a likely spot. The available evidence is just not conclusive. In Primordial Soup, we speculated whether cooking developed because of Stone Age Newton or blunders and clumsiness is unknown. Our guess is a clumsy Stone Age Newton. After dropping a slab of antelope meat in the fire, alley-oops claimed to do it on purpose and saved the day when people liked the cooked meat. The genius part was his wife pulling the meat out of the fire with a sharp stick. The most intriguing theory was by anthropologist Richard Wrangham in his book Catching Fire: How Cooking Made Us Human. The Wrangham cooking theory was Homo erectus first cooked meat in fire sometime soon after they emerged. The results, according to Wrangham, were new subspecies developing greater brain size, smaller jaws, and stomachs. Cooking meant digestion partially happened outside the body, and the chemical changes made the food more nutritious, easier to eat, and better tasting. Cooking changed everything. We are modern humans because Homo erectus discovered meat could be cooked. There were still hundreds of thousands of years from cooking slabs of meat to farming and civilization, which seems puzzling. Why wasn't it an easy set of steps from cooking a slab of meat to grinding cereals and putting them in a pot, creating pottage? Well, this includes a list of necessary technological breakthroughs that apparently were not obvious. Perhaps the bigger brain and communication through language were needed and required a long period for genetics to kick in. Descendants of the original cooks had to invent the mortar and pestle to grind the grain and convince the women to do it. It always seemed to be the women. Finding the right cereals, figuring out to add water and other ingredients, initially identifying the best techniques to cook the porridge, plus finding a pot. The pots could have been tortoise shells. Finding evidence for porridge making and eating proved elusive. What evidence from, say, 30,000 years ago would show conclusive use of porridge? It had been difficult enough to document porridge use to the start of farming and civilization. Earlier use must have been the case, but proving it? That's all we've got on cooking until the anthropologists find more evidence. That leads us to our next elusive topic, trade. Early trade was hard to prove. It must have happened, but how and when? The next video of Food History and Mystery is trade.